Hey guys, welcome back to our
real life scenario. Whoa, whoa.
Oh, a little stank on it.
Mic trick on you. Swing the voice across the microphone like that, like so, like that.
You a professional.
Maybe not. Hey guys.
But we are back to a real life scenario, our happy place. We're so excited to be here. We're back.
My happy dance.
Oh, look at the happy dance. And you got happy colors on too.
I do.
Very bright.
I'm just holding on to the last few days of summer.
Okay.
Not really though, because I'm ready for it to go.
Yeah, I like my bombers. I like, coats, like layers. Like it gets
I love that
summertime.
crispy morning dew.
Like there's a summertime to where it's like, all right, maybe 79, 85, where I could still get away with maybe some pants.
True.
Or like, but once you get into the 90, 95, it's just like, I feel like you're so limited because you need to be able to breathe.
That's true.
Like you
yes.
You need ventilation.
Yes.
So it's like
where you don't even want to go outside.
I have to wear shorts. There is no other option. If
Yep.
I try to wear pants in this, unless I'm running in somewhere or right back out, like it's just not gonna work.
It's true, man. It's so true. I'm happy to see summer go. I also totally stand behind the line that fall is a fly girl sport. It's my favorite season for lots of reasons, but definitely from a fashion standpoint.
I think I like spring.
Yeah.
So you kind of got the same temperatures.
Absolutely.
And I get why fall is like that leading into the holiday season, which is really dope. But spring is like that. I don't know if it's just ingrained in your mind from school, but like spring is like, like it's getting to the point
so
where
you're getting a break.
You getting a break and
Yes.
summer about to be crazy and
Yes.
we back outside after we've been hibernating. So as you guys know,
God did his big thing with the seasons for those
Yeah.
areas that experience full seasons. How he set them up is pretty perfect.
For sure.
Perfect.
How have you been?
I've been good. You know the vibes. Busy. Yes. How about you?
I've been good. This week is a travel week for me.
Yes.
4 or technically 5 states in a week, which is
Crazy.
very interesting. Just got back from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was in New York for a Name It conference for TV1, and then I was in Florida before that visiting my wife's family.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Florida is a very interesting state. And at one point, I thought I wanted to live there. No shade to anybody who lives there. I have family from there. My dad's side of the family is from there.
Yeah.
But it is ridiculously hot. The weather is just like mood swing unpredictable. And the bugs down there,
Wild.
oh my gosh, like disrespectful. Like at least the ones down here, if you do the little wave thing like that, they fly off. There, it's like I'm dying for this blood in your leg. And
Exactly.
Either I'm gonna get it or either I'm not, but
And then we can't forget about them bugs in the politics down there either. Good God Almighty. But I ain't getting on that. I'm not getting on that.
That's a
Don't
completely
move there,
different story.
Dre.
I'm not. Ooh, you want to do the Florida challenge?
What's that?
The Florida Man challenge. You ever heard of that? So I was watching, I think it's an old thing, right?
Okay.
Everybody do this. I think it's an old thing. But I was listening to a podcast. I'm a little nerd. I listened to a podcast called Office Ladies, which is a podcast about this show, The Office. And I love The Office. But anyways, there's this Florida challenge. You got your Google up. Basically, you type in your birthday and you put Florida Man behind it.
Oh, and it's a crime is going to come up. I already know it.
But it's like, you have to say like what it is. So I'm going to put my birthday, October 25th.
So you type out your date, like your month and day.
And you type in Florida Man. All right, I'm going to read which ones came up for me.
Okay.
Florida man arrested for throwing sausages at his mom. Florida man accused of using Kool-Aid packets to steal nearly $1,000 in Walmart merchandise. What happened on your birthday? What Florida man
So in
do?
2020, Florida man accused of throwing a holy book at a person, literal Bible thumping, as they have here. 2019, Florida man, this is my favorite. Florida man dove in and punched a shark after it nearly grabbed his entire dog in its mouth. Got in that water and said, "Get your damn hands off my puppy.
Don't
boy."
touch my dog. That's my dog. Get your hands off my dog.
Wow. It's a lot more. Florida man bitten by an alligator. after mistaking the reptile for something other than a alligator. Oh man, this is crazy.
Florida man accused of stealing Disney costume wrestles with deputies. Yeah, man, Florida's an interesting state. So everybody go home and just type in your birthday and put Florida man and see
Shout out to the man who punched the shark for his dog. You my kind of person, my guy. I like you. Because I don't know if I would do that, but I would like to think that I would. A shark is just...
Your dog wouldn't even do that for you. It'd be like, dang.
I don't know. Some dogs do stuff like that. I've seen it, man. But a shark...
I don't know if that dog would have did that.
We just gonna have to plan that baby little funeral. I don't... because I ain't fooling with no shark now. That's crazy. No need for both of us to die.
What they said, a circle of life.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is. It's like, that's a predator. It's a little under this.
It's a puppy.
It's a pup. I mean... Got him.
So glad my dogs can't understand everything I'm saying right now. They don't listen to the podcast because I want them to believe that I would fight a shark for them. But baby, I ain't gonna be able to do that. Mommy not that crazy. Love y'all.
Well, we established that Florida is just a very interesting state.
Isn't it?
Full of surprises.
Isn't it?
And every you hear something crazy, you're like, where'd that happen? Florida? It had to be.
Florida.
Wow. Well, transitioning.
That was good. That was
to
funny.
that is reading our real lover review.
Yeah, it's my favorite part of the show.
Yes. So I like this one. This one's from the REODG.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready. Am I being called an aunt?
Possibly. The title says, "Who left 1 star?" ? Haters.
Okay. and is.
You know, one thing I realized too, I saw somebody leave 1 star for a podcast and gave like a raving review. So it just, maybe it was somebody grandma was like, oh, 1 star, this is the highest.
Yeah, they a superstar.
Versus 5 stars may be too much.
They don't need no other stars. They the one.
So we're going to say the person that did the 1 was an accident.
Mistake.
But she said, I found y'all from the Don't Call Me White Girl podcast and decided to come through and listen. Now I am a album, not a single girl. So I had to start from the beginning. I like that. That's a bar right there.
That is.
Currently, I'm at the end of July. So I'm not even caught up yet. But what a lovely and pleasant conversation the two of you have. Your chemistry is obvious and the maturity is unmatched. I listen to you guys at work and honestly, I use some of your Dre and Rhonda isms in my life and also providing relationship advice to my family and friends. Thank you for just how you guys show up in the world and the wisdom that you continue to share. And Rhonda, I know you said chill on the auntie thing a little, but it's just about the wisdom and the respect, smiley face. There, I left one. Now I won't feel guilty when you guys bring up the reviews. LOL.
Oh, thank you. Ari, I can't even be mad at that one. That was good.
Somebody on the YouTube comments called you unfluffy too.
I feel like that has to be, you know what? No, I realized because I clicked into that because I was like, is this one of my, Lord, y'all know I got a lot of brothers, so I got a lot of nieces and nephews. I was like, I wonder if this is really one of my nieces or nephews. But when I looked at it, I think they watch and comment on Damone and stuff a lot.
Got you.
And Mona calls me that sometimes because that's what she tells her kids my name is. So that's cool. That's cool. It's cool. I'm racing it. Just don't run it in the hole. Okay. Love y'all.
Appreciate you. All right. That was so dope. And we love people that come from other places and saying they're binging our content and listening to it.
That she started from the beginning.
Yeah, like it's so dope. And I'm super excited to have real lovers like you a part of the fold and a part of the gang. Appreciate you. So make sure you guys are like Ari and leave a review. Go on the podcast app and hit follow. That means a lot to us. So you know when new episodes come out.
Absolutely.
Please do that.
Please do that. Like, it's a requirement. If you're going to be here, say something nice for everybody to see.
Yes.
Okay.
Do your part. So now we're going to get to our real life love scenario. So as we know, or you may not know. I won't assume.
Maybe you don't know. Maybe we're breaking it.
Maybe we're breaking it to you. But Jeezy and Jeannie, how you pronounce her last name?
Maya Jenkins.
Yeah,
Jeannie Maya.
They were married for a few years, and it's been news that Jeezy filed for a divorce. Now, there was a story on a show on Fox Soul to where someone, Funky
Dineva.
Daniva, Rhonda's good with the pronunciations and enunciations and stuff like that. So that's what I rely on her for. But he said that he has some tea on what was actually going on in the situation because he knows some people that's closest to the situation. So, you know, this show isn't about gossip, but it's just really talking about what he said and then talking about the reality of these relationship problems. So nothing salacious, nothing crazy, nothing about cheating. Number one is he said that the distance was a main issue for them with them being apart. Number two, that he's a much more private person while she is more okay and open with their relationship being very public focused and social media focused.
Yeah.
And that was something that he didn't like. And you can kind of tell maybe that that's not, you know.
Yes, for sure. You can tell that. You can definitely tell that. Plus, he grew up in the streets.
Yeah.
So being quiet is just a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. And then one of the biggest things is that family was living with them. So her mother was living with them. And then I guess her brother ended up moving in with them and living with them as well. And then the last thing that they had said, or that he had said, is that Jeannie liked to walk their child to school, but Jeezy didn't want that because people could spot her, maybe go back to see where they live, and it just wasn't a safe thing to do.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk about a few of these things.
Yeah.
The first thing is the family thing, because I think she's Vietnamese.
I didn't know that, but
I think.
makes sense.
Let me see. Let me make sure. Jeannie. Let's see, guys. She is from California, but
but like her ethnicity.
But I think that to say all that, I'm basically saying that to say that there are cultural differences.
Yes.
You know, between all different types of cultures and ethnicities, but it seems like that may have been something that truly was, you know, an issue with their situation. And I wanted to talk to you about that, like family living together. What's your thoughts on that situation? Like, is that a thing to where, you know, like they said, that for better or for worse, taking care of somebody's family, you have to be okay with that? Or is it, yeah, she is to a Chinese Vietnamese father and a Vietnamese mother. So I saw somebody in the comments that just said that's Vietnamese culture, that you know, they expect when you get married that husband takes care of the family, and that's just how the culture goes. So, you know, for some people that could be a shock, like, I wasn't used to that, and this is a lot for me.
Yes.
And then how long? And then I can imagine if they said the distance, like, what if I'm home, you're not home, but they're here, and it's just me and your mom the whole time for a week, or me and your brother, and it's like, you know, it's all good for, we do this all for family, but especially if I have the means to, like, we can just get them an apartment.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Or like taking care of them, but them living in here and taking care of them, those are two very different experiences. And that would be overwhelming for me. And I do know, you know, my aunt and my aunt's children, my cousins, are of Asian heritage, but they're Thai. And that is a part of Asian culture to some capacity. And I don't want to misspeak, but my own personal experiences with it. Yes, the cohabitating for an extended period of time, especially like when a new child comes into the picture. Like, I think a lot of families like the idea of like the grandparent coming and helping for a period of time.
Yeah.
But that's like not a permanent thing. Like, you're not here all the time.
Yeah.
And I am, you know, I'm a fan of Jeannie and what she shared with like her mom. And they're, you know, you can tell they have a very bubbly personalities, and they make a lot of content about their relationship, and now, of course, with the baby. And yeah, I think it's a lot though. Like, this is technically, like, not technically, this is our home and your family is welcome here, but to what capacity? Like you said, we could take care of them, but do they have to like live here? And another thing is, like, a lot of times when that is a cultural thing for families, it becomes like this pressure to do it all together. Like you said, it's like, you don't just live here and just go to your space. it's like, we're having dinner, we're having breakfast, we're about to watch a movie. It's like, no. Absolutely not. Watch a movie in your room, and I'm gonna watch a movie with my family in maybe the living room or things like that. And what little bit I did see on her page, like, and again, this is a snapshot, these are just posts.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a lot of fun family stuff like that. And if you didn't grow up like that, it just might feel really overwhelming to you. But also, even if you did grow up like that, this is now your new family, and you don't want to keep having that experience day in and day out. I would not be with it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Especially if I have the means to set somebody up. But I've always been that type of person, even when I didn't have the means to, buy somebody a house. But I was always like, somebody like in the locker room, a teammate every day might be like, yo, can I use your soap? Can I use your lotion? Bro, I will buy you your own bottle of lotion.
Please. Here.
I'll buy you a new bottle of lotion, but don't call me selfish because I don't want to keep sharing with you because I'm going to be tapped out.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'd rather put you up. Even when people come over, I'm like, Bree, we don't got enough space. If it's that big of a deal, I don't mind. I'll pay for a hotel for them if that's for a night, if it's your aunt or something like that. But like, we don't have a lot of space in here, and I want to be comfortable in my space. Like, I'm so big about being comfortable in my space. Oof. And I don't want to.
Whole adjustment when you live with people. Like, even in a big house, I can imagine it just is like, I don't want to hear anything if it's not the sound that I'm making, or you, or my child.
Or it's like, if let's say you got, even in a big house, like it's
one kitchen still.
One kitchen, or, maybe you got a theater room or something like that. And if you just wanted to go in there one day, but somebody laid up in there, and it's like, okay. Or you have some snacks or something that you have for yourself, and you go in there and it's like, dang, they all gone.
They all gone. Brother ate them. It's crazy.
And it's like, it can put a lot of strain on a relationship. And I know all these things, like I've been, with Bree, we struggled with this, and I had to talk about, like, I'm a private person. And as you know, and people who do know my wife and follow her, she shares openly about things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't like to do that. But the middle part was just, or the way to compromise with that, where I was just like, yo, I don't mind you sharing things that we've gotten over and figured out, but don't share things that we're currently going through, because I don't even know how I feel about it. And then it's like, now you're telling the world, and we haven't even figured it out internally. Yeah. So I know how that can feel. And then lastly, with the whole walking a kid to school thing, I think I talk to a lot of husbands, and I don't know. I do think that there are women, and there are women out there who are very street smart and street savvy. But I think, sometimes, especially maybe when you're in the presence of your man, like, you can maybe let your guard down a little bit. Yeah. And I've talked to a few husbands to where it's like, sometimes they be looking at their wife like, yo, you not paying attention, or you just too trusting. Like, Bree just like, oh, I can leave my laptop there, it'll be fine, it's nothing will happen. And it's like, you don't know what can happen. And all it takes is one time for that to happen, and then it's done. Or like, oh, I don't gotta lock the door to the house, we're in Tyson's and we're in it's like
crazy. So
you just gonna leave the door unlocked?
It's like, they bank on people like you. People
exactly.
Bank on people like you.
So I feel like in this situation, sometimes, it's like, oh, what's going to happen? We're in a nice neighborhood. Our friend next to us is this person, and the person who lives next to us is this person. It's like, nothing will happen.
Sure.
And it's like, being a man, especially, not only are you now being protective of yourself, you're trying to be protective of your family now. And this part too, it's like, what if I'm not here and something happens? Like, it's more, whenever we do that, it's more for you and trying to protect you and the family, even over ourselves. And it's like, it would drive you crazy if, like, one time, I guess Bree was mad at me, and I was like, yo, you need to lock the door when you come in. She was like, I'm not locking the door. She was just mad about something else. But when she said that, it ticked me off, because I'm like, so you just gonna leave the door open For what? Because you don't want to do this.
Yeah.
When you walk in the house, and I got pissed, and we argued and got into it just off the pure fact that you're just like, you have no disregard for not only my safety but your safety, and how if I were to lose you, or in this case lose my child as well, how that would affect me. Like, you just don't care, huh?
Right.
And that would piss me off. So I could see how a combination of all these different things, especially if somebody wasn't able to move or meet you in the middle, could cause for the relationship to blow up.
For sure. And I think that also likely comes down to a cultural difference, and a certain amount of comfort. Jeannie grew up in California. I don't know that she had a as rough of an upbringing, for lack of better words, as Jeezy did.
Yeah.
He also is, well known to be a drug dealer. He started out as a rapper, but rapping about his lifestyle growing up in Atlanta, which was a very different experience. He's lost people, he's lost family, he's lost friends to the streets, and she probably has not. And so this mindset around safety and comfort is very different. I also think the other reason why she may have been so insistent upon wanting to do that, because it is a form of normalcy. It's something that a lot of celebrities don't get to do. They don't have the luxury and the pleasure of doing that. Like, I remember hearing Cardi B talk about, how important it is for her to take her children to school. She doesn't walk them, but even just trying to take them in a car can be really challenging when people are out to get you and they don't respect the fact that this is an innocent person with me who's not choosing to be a star. They just happen to be the child of one. And so I think they're just probably really different. She might want it for explorative reasons. I mean, I think about when I walked to school, I learned a lot in those early ages, where, your mom's pointing out bugs or trees or all of these fun, sweet things that you sometimes lose the ability to do when you are of a certain level of public figure. And so I get really both sides of it, but I think ultimately safety is the most important. And if she wouldn't flex on that, and again, this is all speculative, but if she wouldn't flex on that, I could see how that could really bother him, especially as, a lot of times men feel very responsible for the safety of their families.
For sure.
So I wouldn't have tussled with him about it at all. In fact, I probably wouldn't have wanted to walk my child to school anyway, especially not in a secure situation where, like, security is with us when we're walking the baby to school, not just me and the baby casually just walking down the street. Yeah, no, absolutely not. No. So, I mean, it sucks. I think one of the lessons learned for a lot of people, and we say this all the time about, like, not resting goals on people you don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, their relationship appeared very beautiful and full of love and all of the things. And I'm not saying that it wasn't, but you don't know what's going on inside people's houses and behind closed doors. You just don't know. And so all you can do is pray for them. I pray that it's as amicable as possible based on court documents. It doesn't look like it's going to be as amicable as possible, because he got this ball rolling a while ago. It's just coming
public now.
Yes, and it was filed now, but he started this process months ago.
Yeah.
And she's contesting certain parts of the divorce, which, usually is a sign that they aren't able to resolve things directly. So that part sucks. That part really sucks.
Yeah, I think that one thing when you're entering into a relationship, you can't predict every single thing that will happen in it, especially like we said, walking a kid to school and things like that. But I think the things that you want to look out for is the ability to compromise and to be flexible and see how willing somebody is to do that.
Yeah.
I know sometimes agreeing to disagree sounds cool in the moment, but if you do too much of that, then you're not agreeing to disagree is not truly agreement on something.
No.
It's just like, you have your way of thinking, I have my way of thinking.
Yeah.
And that's how we go. But if you do too much of that, you're not aligned on things.
No.
And it's going to get to a point to where you're going to have to agree or not agree when it comes to certain things and find a compromise. So if you're in a relationship and your person that you're with and you're dating, y'all been able to come to compromises about things, I think that's a good sign. But if you're just putting things off and agreeing to disagree, then, you might want to evaluate that, because there's going to be situations, like I said, where you can't do that.
Or it just winds up being too many, and then you start to realize, like, wow, we really aren't aligned because we see so many things differently. We've had to agree to disagree way too many times. And once you start breaking down the fundamental like need for commonality and like compatibility, you don't have much of anything to work with at that point. You're
For
like,
sure.
well, so much for that. But wishing them both the best. Really,
For
really, I
sure.
do. Y'all be so mean to people. I'm reading some of these comments. Y'all be so mean to people. It's crazy that y'all sometimes talk to people like they're not people, regardless of what you think about the interracial side of it. The pulling up what she said years ago on the reel. I'm like, if that clip about white meat versus dark meat gets played one more time.
One more again.
Y'all brought it up when they announced their relationship. You brought it up when they announced the marriage. You brought it up when she had the baby. It's like, who Lord have mercy. Who God, y'all mean? Pray for the people. Okay.
Exactly.
That's a family. That's a family. All right. Off my soapbox. So
Yes.
the time has come.
It is.
Where the tables have turned. If this is your first time watching, welcome, of course. But last week's episode, we spent some time talking about my real life love scenario.
Yes, we did.
Yes. And a part of that is really to introduce you all to us and get a better understanding of our foundations of love and all the things. And now I have the pleasure and the honor to ask my friend Dre some questions about his real life love scenario.
And I don't know what any of these questions gonna be.
It's good. It's gonna be good. You know,
Okay.
I'm gentle. I'm very gentle. Mm-hmm. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Let's see.
Well, I'm gonna steal a page out of your book.
Okay.
Of course, we're gonna start from the very beginning.
All right.
We'll flip it a smidge. I kind of want to know, and in any way you want to share it, like your oldest memory of love and what that looked like. And naturally, I assume that is likely associated to your parents or that relationship in your household. So what was that like? Your parents' marital status, etc.
Yeah. I think my oldest experience with love was my mom and I.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and biological father were divorced ever since I could remember.
Mm-hmm.
They got married young, but ever since I could remember, they weren't together. And
Young like before 20 or young like early 20s?
Like early 20s.
Okay.
But ever since I known them, they had been split up.
Okay.
And then some years later, I think I was maybe like 12 or 11, my mom started dating my stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up getting married. And then for most of my time in middle school or high school, my mom was married to my stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
And my biological father passed away when I was 16.
Mm.
But that was just always an interesting dynamic because it was always me and my mom in the household for the most part. And that shaped my way of viewing relationships a lot. Mm-hmm. It was my mom could do everything, right? Mm-hmm. Especially because I was younger too. And was I at the position or place where I could mow the lawn or really shovel or do like a lot of these things? I was still young before my mom met my stepdad. So, you know, my mom was always the one who was around, you know, taking care of me, but my dad was present too. Like up into a few years before his death, like I would see my dad every day. Mm-hmm. But just living in the house with my mom and seeing how she operated, that's my first, you know, viewpoint of what love really was. Mm-hmm. And having that village of love around me too is that I was one of those people, even though my mom and dad weren't together, my mom and dad were cordial. I never seen them argue in front of me, maybe like one time, but I wouldn't even consider it like an argument. It was just like a discussion about something, but didn't really see that.
Yeah.
And I had the love all around, and it was like I would go to my grandmother loved me, grandfather, and all of both sides were so great. Like my dad would come over to my grandmother's house, which was my mom's on Sundays for dinner, even though they weren't together anymore. My grandmother and my grandfather or my dad's dad would come over, hang out. Like it was just like a family affair. My aunt, uncle would come over. Both sides of the family, you know, were cool. I can see they were like, you know, what you guys went through was what you guys had went through.
Yeah.
But I would say one of the greatest lessons about love that I learned from my biological parents is that love can push you through a lot of different things. And their love for me was the thing that bonded everything together.
Yeah.
And they were able to see past all of their past issues, all of their past whatever they had went through, because I didn't even ask at this, even as an adult, I didn't ask like what happened, why did you get divorced? Because at this point it's like my dad, whatever he may have did or whatever the situation was that caused a divorce or anything like that, I know that he was doing everything in his power leading up to his death to try to make up for any lost time or anything, and he was completely present in my life.
Yeah.
So that was that situation and what I learned from them. But then when you go to my mom and my stepdad, that completely changed my viewpoint of how a man operates in a relationship with a woman and in a household with a woman, because that was the first time I ever saw that. I remember one example to where, we get in the house, I'm riding with my mom. I think she may pick me up from school and she had got groceries. And then my stepdad, they were talking on the phone and he was like, oh, just leave the groceries in the car. The boys will come and get them. I had two brothers and a sister. And I'm like, she's right here. Why would she not take groceries? Like, my mom carries groceries in the house all the time. So you want her to not, you want me to take 2 trips and her not grab the groceries when she's right here?
Yeah.
But
did you express this, or these were all thoughts?
No, I said this to my mom. I was like, why are you? And I did express it, but it's like, that was all I knew. My mom cut the grass. My mom did everything. So it's like, to think that she can't grab a few bags out the car, didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then I remember even one time I asked like my mom to iron my shirt. He was like, no, that's my wife.
Right.
She ironed my shirt. She ain't iron your shirt. You iron your own shirt. And it was just.
Get you a wife, player.
And it was just like those subtle things, but even like always opening the door for, the women in the house or the women just in general. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Seeing my stepdad when my parents, my mom and my stepdad got married, he lost his job for, I think, a few years.
Wow.
And to still see him lead in that situation was just like, okay, this is what leadership is. Still see my mom stand by his side and be there for him, even though she was the one that had the steady job in that moment.
Yeah.
All those things, shaped my viewpoint on what relationship really was. And the one thing I can say that I appreciate about my parents, both my dad and my mom, biologically, and then my stepdad and my mom, is that I never heard my parents argue. Never.
Love that.
Never heard them attack each other. Never heard them put each other down. Never heard them talk about issues. Didn't know that we were possibly losing a house at one point. Didn't know that we were behind on bills at any point.
Yeah.
Never knew.
Yeah.
And I appreciate them for that. And lastly, I'll just say I appreciate my mom too, because growing up where we were at in PG County, certain areas, the school system isn't as great, and didn't realize at the moment that me being in private school from kindergarten to 8th grade was such a financial commitment.
Yes, God.
And that's really not only, my mom wanted to do that, but my dad also helped my biological father, put money towards that happening. But my parents truly being like, we want the best for our kid. And I know some of the kids I went to school with, I went to sleep over one time. I'm like, you got a bathroom in your room? You got a bathroom in your room? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. Like, I'm sharing a bathroom with my mom. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like the fact that I'm still going to the same school as them. And it's probably a much more of a financial burden on my parents than it is on some of the other kids' parents. But that's the love. It's like, we're trying to do everything that we can to, do the best we can for our child. And I truly appreciate that love that was given to me.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I smiled a lot as you were talking, because you just, the understanding and the driving it home that like love was all mixed in, like nonstop. It was like my mother prioritized it, my stepfather prioritized it, my father prioritized it, the extended family prioritized it, even in I don't want to say discipline, but just in rearing you, even there's love in that, and you're gonna go help your mother. A big part of what it is yes, the traditional roles of a man is taking on the heavier lifting, technically or tangibly and figuratively, but that's also teaching you a form of love, and that love is help, love is support, love is getting the bags and helping your mother bring in food that she's about to probably cook, that she already probably bought. The least you could do is
Bring it
carry
in.
it, so that it's such a beautiful thing. You talk about this kind of transition from you not seeing your parents married, your biological parents married, but then your mom meeting your stepdad. Was that a difficult transition for you? Do you remember how she introduced him to you? Like, what was that experience like? Because it was
Yeah.
just the two of you.
Yeah, I do remember that. And it's so the irony in it, this is so hilarious, is that I don't know if it's hilarious, but my mom met my stepdad at a concert. I think it was a Donnie McClurkin concert.
Okay.
So for full disclosure, my parents are both pastors. I grew up in the church, played the drums, usher board, church school conference, everything. Like I'm a church boy. But I think it was for Mother's Day, but because I was younger, my dad helped me pay for the tickets for my mom for Mother's Day.
Oh, wow.
And funny that she met my stepdad at the concert.
Dre, you've been playing matchmaker for a long time.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure my dad probably didn't see the irony and all that. But yeah, that's how they met. And I remember when my mom first introduced me to him, they went to the same Bible college, because it's called Maple Springs. It's off of Pennsylvania Avenue in PG County, and he would be there with his two sons, and they would be doing homework, and I'll be there. So that was like the introduction to him. So it wasn't even like, hey, this guy's coming over the house, or hey, it was just kind of like, this is this person I go to school with.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I'm like, oh, they seem to be cool. Like they, just normal conversation. Like anything like being in the church if my mom's talking to a guy and they have kids. So I didn't think anything of it. And I think that was cool because I was able to kind of get a feel for him and, get to know him and his sons a lot easier without the pressure of like, this is somebody that I'm dating, or this is somebody that could be your stepdad or anything like that. And I don't really remember the true transition into like, hey, this is somebody that I'm dating, but it never felt like abrupt or anything crazy. And I was never the type that was like, oh, I don't want my mom to remarry, or I want my parents to be together, because I never saw my parents together. I couldn't imagine my mom and my dad.
Wow.
I couldn't think. It doesn't even make sense because I've never seen it.
Got it.
And that was never my reality. And then there was never any friction or confrontation about it either. It was not like my mom act like she hated my dad. Like it was nothing. So I was just like, oh, okay. Like this is the situation. Seems to be a good guy. He was always very intentional about letting my mom handle me the way that she did, and letting her have the space to do that, even though he disciplined and did things with his sons a lot different. And he'll tell you that he learned a lot from my mom and parenting, and what they say, the stick and the carrot, like understanding, that old school feelings, the stick, but the carrot can be
very effective.
Very, very effective. And the thing that one thing he'll always tell you, and he always tells a story with me, with my mom and how she raised me, he used to get annoyed sometimes because my mom would tell me to do something and I would like plead my case, and my mom would just let me talk, like let me express myself. Then when she was tired of it, she'll just be like, no, this is what you're doing. And he used to be so like, he told me that he used to be so mad. Like, why is she letting this boy just talk? And no, I said this and you need to do it. And then he was like, I started to realize that your mom never changed her mind when she told you what she told you originally. Right. But you just being able to express yourself made you feel better about the situation. But you always listen to her at the end. And he said, he told me one time when I was younger, he asked me, he was like, do you know your mom never changes her mind when she always does that? Or when you always try to explain yourself? And I was just like, huh.
You never noticed.
Never noticed. But then I just went back to talking what I was talking about. But it's like, yeah, my mom gave me the freedom to express myself and to like say how I felt about things. Yeah. But still, was stern in her, decision making. And I think that built up equity in our relationship, that I'm being heard, that you understand what I'm saying, and you you care about how I feel.
That's such a valuable lesson to learn as a child. And I think a lot of us, at least speaking for myself, it's not something that I learned growing up as a kid. I didn't learn how important it is to be heard. Just in the smaller things. Like if it was something big that I need to talk to my mother about, yes, but in the midst of discipline, absolutely not. Like there was no real room for explanation unless you were asked a question for you to explain yourself. And even, them tricky black mom questions where they not really questions. It's like, have you
Questions
lost
with
your
a
mind?
period. That's what I call
And
them.
it's like, well, no, I'm not, just shut up. It's like, well, that was a question, mom, so I didn't have that room. So I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think one of the things that I'm pulling from just your mother in general, who I have met, and she's a joy. Like she just is a gentle person. She very much comes across as a very gentle person. It sounds like before it was a catchphrase, gentle parenting, to some degree, while she was firm and she stood on what she said in her decision making. She parented you gently, and I think it lends itself to who you are today, for sure.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of grace. I mean, there were the moments to where it's like, no, like, come on,
shut up.
Yeah, like, nah.
That's out.
But it was a gentle approach, and I think that's what we had talked about in one of our previous episodes. Is when you have a parent, it's like, you end up the same or you end up the opposite. It's like, given who my parent is, how can I not be? And my grandmother, who was her mother, grew up South Carolina, of siblings 13 or 14. And it was one of those things where daddy going through the whole group, whipping everybody with a belt, out the bathtub. Like these are where my grandmother came from. So then of course she imparted that on her children, out the bathtub, whipping you, switches whipping you. And my mom determined that, if she had to, she would do it. And I think maybe I got like 2 beatings, like truly. Because for me, I was one of those kids that even a threat would have me like folded as a kid. Like,
yeah, me too.
Crying before, like, you need to touch me. And I'm so sorry.
I did not mean to disappoint you.
I was one of those kids, but my mom, I think, was intentional about wanting to be gentle, wanting to put things in perspective as far as what I'm dealing with. She used to always tell people like what he's dealing with is important to him.
Yeah.
And it's like a 7-year-old's problems in reality don't matter.
Yeah.
But it means a lot to you at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody taking a swing from you that day and pushing you on the ground, like, or somebody taking a book from your cubby, like that's your reality. And that's big.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it is smart to understand that it is not significant. That is the pinnacle of a 7-year-old's world. Just like whatever our problems are at 30 something or 20 something, whatever it is, that's the pinnacle of our world. And so, yes, teaching that and getting a kid to understand that, which is just such a wonderful blessing that you got that so young, to know that what you feel matters. That may not change the decision. Even that piece of it is a valuable lesson for navigating through life as an adult. Because yes, do your feelings matter? Sure. Do you need to be heard? Yes. Will it always change things? No. Will it make a person say, oh, well, Dre, since you shared, we're going to move in a different direction? No. And that's a reality that you got at such a young age. So brava to your mother, because that was
amazing.
That was a wonderful, wonderful lesson. So moving ahead a little bit with the dynamics in your household, as long as I've known you and in the many conversations we've had about commitment, in my mind, it's something that you've always wanted. Is it something that you always thought you would have for yourself? And when did you really know, like, I'm going to be a husband?
At an early age, I always thought how do I say this? I think I'm always intrigued by phenomenons. And I think that finding one person that you want to spend the entirety of your life with is a phenomenon. You tell me there's one person
out of the billions,
out of all of these people that I'm saying I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I'm like, if you find that person, that feeling has to be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, marriage has to be amazing if you're saying I found somebody out of everybody else I want to be with.
Yeah.
So I think that was something that, although I had my time being a player, not being a player, but being out in these streets and doing what I was
Snacking.
doing.
We gonna get into that in a little bit.
That's how you know Rhonda know me. She'll explain that later. But although I had those moments in my life, that was always still so intriguing to me that, you know, you can meet somebody to spend the rest of your life with. So to me, that was always like the end goal, is to find somebody that is a life partner.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Was it popular amongst your friends at the time? Like, I'm sure you probably felt this, like you was like, you've always had this feeling. But do you remember as like a teenager having conversations and the boys around you also felt that way? Or was it very much like, man, I just want all the girls?
So it differs a little bit. So like I told you, I went to private school from kindergarten to 8th grade, Riverdale Baptist. My 8th grade class was maybe 60 people, girls and guys.
Okay.
So the school was small. Very sheltered. It was a Christian school. We had like Smokey Norfolk come to our school, and Kurt Franklin came to our school, and it was just like, you know, we had chapel every Thursday, and we would pray, and we had Bible study. I could tell you Psalm 100 right now from kindergarten because I had to remember it for a kindergarten play. Like Christian school and Christian values.
Yep.
So not saying all the kids were always like that, but there was a certain expectation. There's a certain level of oversight you can have with that little children. So our thought processes were very similar as far as how innocent our things were. Like I remember in middle school, I had a crush on who was not necessarily friends anymore, but we were friends. Her name's Alyssa. And I remember like jumping up for joy because I like got a hug, and I was like, oh, yo, she hugged me. Like I got a hug, like thought that was and you talking about maybe 7th grade. Like, and I'm thinking like, that's the dopest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Lord, when I tell you, when I got to public school for high school, I was like, these kids are crazy.
Because they were a lot more advanced.
Oh, well, from being adults, yes. PG-13 mean if you over 13, you see the movie. And that's how my mom operated. Rated R was for,
Adults,
right? But I'm looking like, yo, these kids,
they X-rated.
They crazy. And this is insane. Like, I ain't never seen people cursing out teachers. These kids talking about doing this and doing that. And I'm like, in the school, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, wow. Like,
this is a lot.
This is a lot. I'm appreciative for it that I was able to be exposed to that thing, because that's real life and that's things you have to deal with. And luckily my foundation was already built to that point to where it didn't make me waver at all. But when I got to public school, were people talking like that? No. There was a few people that were in school. Like there's this couple that I think they got married straight out of high school, and I think they're still married today. So there were some people on that type of time, but like most of my friends, nah, it was just, you young, ain't nobody thinking about marriage at that standpoint. But I was always still, even I wouldn't say I was thinking I was going to marry some of these girls. It was more still from like a serious maybe standpoint versus like just messing around.
Like, I'm gonna have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
At least have a girlfriend. So one of the most pivotal things in your life, and you talk about it, is being an athlete and being a successful athlete from high school to the collegiate level. And we all know in most cases, being a jock, or being a popular athlete comes with a certain almost transition into manhood that for many involves a lot of women or a lot of girls or a lot of attention. Do you remember pivotally when that happened, when there was a switch of like, I'm just playing ball, to like, oh, like everybody knows me for playing ball and all the ladies want me because I'm playing ball? Do you remember right when that happened? Was it college? Was it high school?
I remember a moment. And this is something that I learned too. It's like, when it comes to, I'm going to answer your question, but when it comes to men and your ability to be able to attract women or be with women, confidence is so much a part of that, right?
Yes.
If I had the confidence I have now in my appearance and my ability and what I bring to the table back then, it would have been a crazy situation.
Got it.
But I had to kind of earn my not earn but like walk my way into understanding like, oh, people think you look good. Oh, like you actually do look good. Or like the girls that you like you too. Like
You had like a swan moment.
yeah, I had a moment where I had to realize like, oh, and it was this girl, I won't say her name, but a friend. And I had liked her and thought she was so cute. And it was a friend of a friend, and she had came in town, and I expressed that I thought she was like just the baddest girl, and then kind of find out that she thought I was attractive too. And I was like, wow. Most of the girls that I'm interested in are actually interested in me too.
Right.
And it just got me at that point. And I was like, oh, maybe I got something going here.
Yeah.
But the moment when it came to athletics was really in college. And I remember when after a game, I played as a true freshman. So that means, for those people who don't know about college athletics, is that when you come in, a lot of times you can either redshirt, which means you sit out a year, because sometimes they may feel coming from high school to college, you're not ready. So you could take a year out, and then that year gets added at the end. So you'll be there for 5 years instead of 4, or you can play as a true freshman. So normally if you play a true freshman, you're good enough to be on the team and actually play, coming straight out of high school. So I was a true freshman. I played my first year, and I remember after the second game, maybe against Maine, I can't remember who it was, and I got on the bus after the game, and I had said something, and I was like, yeah, I'm on the team. And the girl was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, you know who I am? And she was like, yeah, like you're number 23, right, Dre? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, yeah, everybody's always talking about you. Like you're the freshman, like the hot new freshman, like receiver or something like that. And I was like that? Like,
Ever since I can remember, I've been popping my
I ain't know people were checking for me like that. But that had me like at that moment, like, okay, like this is a little different. And then, I went to a PWI too. So that's the only college experience that I know. And when it comes to women, it's just, I don't know, the experience is a lot more free, I guess, from attachments. And I can't say, because I didn't go to HBCU, what that would look like. My dealings with
non-black women,
non-black women is the only experience that I had in college. But it was just more of like a truly such an exploratory thing, and people weren't expecting relationships. It wasn't like a thing where people were trying to hold you down or like bring you home to mom or dad. It was just like, hey, we having fun. Yeah. And this is what it is.
Got it. College is like, this is a once in a lifetime experience. We're not gonna put the cart before the horse.
Yeah. Some of them girls, I knew, like, you ain't taking me home to meet your dad. Like, no,
we just having a good time. We just having a good time. You talked a little bit just now about, I guess, learning from a cultural difference that perhaps non-black girls at your PWI were freer in the sense of they didn't require commitment to have a good time. Was that the most interesting thing you learned about women at that time? And if not, was there another thing that was like, this is so eye-opening about women, or something that, especially coming from your household and your neighborhood and your town, with your mother being a very stoic, stand-up woman who was graceful and probably very demure to some degree. Then you went to schools, you went to private school, where again, probably very similar experience. Public school got a little spicy for you. But was there something particularly with women when you hit college that was like, damn, wow, that's so interesting, or like, I would have never thought?
I think it was just the freedom of, of course, in high school, you go to public school, you start to hear things and people doing this and people doing that. But in high school, you aren't truly able to, when you're left to your own devices, or like you're not able to truly freely explore whatever you want to in high school. But in college, you truly are free to explore whatever you want to do. There's nobody stopping you.
Right.
So I guess what I learned about women at that standpoint is that, like, they tell us that it's men with these sex drives that like we're the ones who are fiending for this, but I'm like, nah. It's women out here that are liberated, and I don't know, maybe enjoy it. Like, the stories I can tell you about how some women get down, and it's no judgment because
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what led to that. Sometimes it's trauma, it's a whole bunch of different things,
Yeah.
but like, you know, so many teammates that like, it's like, oh, so me, him, and him
And him.
and him.
And at one time it was all of us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
This is different.
Did
It's like
not
you
know.
learn that women aren't a monolith, and
Yeah.
and especially in a space where I think everybody, like you said, it's all exploratory, and to some degree, it's like this is the first time you're like out the house.
Yeah.
So
Like I
some
said,
of
you
it
can
is just
truly do
like,
whatever you want.
yeah, you just breaking out. So you might just be doing stuff just because you can, even if you don't know. You just need to touch it. You need to experience it. I had the same experience coming out of high school, and I was home for college, but my leash was loosened. I guess I should say that. So yes, I got to experience things that were like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like I could stay out, like that was the first experience with like really staying out without having to have a full explanation or ask for permission. I could just be out. Yeah, you learn a whole lot.
And the cool thing about college too is that you get to meet people from different areas, right? A lot of times when you're growing up, you're in the same space. So even your references, the things you say, you kind of think a lot the same. You think it's the same, but when you meet people from different places, the terminology, what they say is different, and it's just their viewpoint on life is different.
Yeah.
I remember I met one girl. I remember her name. Won't say it, of course, but I remember we was in her dorm room, and typical college thing, my boy was messing with her friend, and I was messing. So we was both in the dorm room on each of their beds, kissing the girls and stuff like that.
Okay.
And we, just doing living. And we didn't like have sex in the same room or nothing, but we had a conversation, and the girl said something like, the one girl said something about like, STD or something like that. Like my boy was talking to, and it was just like a conversation about it, not the girl saying it. And then the girl that I was talking to was kissing. She was just like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. You just like take a pill and blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, you are way too casual about this. This is interesting. I don't think I want to continue
Good.
this thing, because you just are way too like
yesterday.
You just way too like, oh, no, it's not that big a deal.
Girl, I get that all the time.
And I was like, no, I'm good.
I'm okay. Thanks though. This was fun. Let me go brush my teeth. So your first love, did it happen for you in college? Would you say that was like truly your first love?
What I thought was love, maybe at that moment.
Yeah.
I remember distinctively telling her that, and she didn't say it back. She just kind of like said, just kind of continue with the conversation. But I wasn't even like upset about it, because I'm like, I just said it because that's truly how I feel, not because I'm looking for a response. But I think that now that I know what love is, Breathe was definitely my first love. But my first experience in something that I felt like was a serious relationship, and somebody that I truly considered something long term with, and truly thought I saw a future with, was my relationship in college with Devin.
Okay. Yeah. And at what year did you meet Devin? Like sophomore, junior?
That was going into I met her sophomore year. Planted the seed. Okay. And then ended up being with her junior year.
Okay. And how did you guys meet? How did it come together?
It was this place. I went to JMU, and there was this food place called Duke's. Okay. And when you're at a PWI, the Black community is obviously a lot smaller. Yeah. So you
find your tribe.
You find your tribe, but you know everybody. So then when the new freshman class comes in, you're like, all right, who's coming in? And then if you happen to come across a Black person that you never seen, that's a girl, and she cute, you like, who's this? And then everybody gonna be at her head, because it's like, this is the new cutest girl. And then at that time, we were all on this thing to where it's like, you didn't want to mess with a girl who messed with two of your teammates or another one of your teammates, because then it's like, especially not wifing a girl up who messed with you, try to get somebody who was untouched, essentially. Which now as a grown person, it's like
whatever,
that's dumb.
Yeah.
But at that age, that was the mindset. Yeah. So I had walked up to her, I thought she was cute, and I started talking to her. and she had a boyfriend that, you know, she just graduated from high school. It was this boyfriend that she was with. And in my mind, I'm like, that's not gonna last. No, none of those transition relationships last. Like,
especially
barely.
if they don't transition with you.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
school, it's usually not going.
I know so many people that came in with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and it's like, nah.
Right.
Or even if they did, they still did their thing sometimes, like in school, but then they went back to them in the breaks in summer. So I was like, it's not gonna last.
Yeah.
But then I took some time, went over. Well, that's how we met. That's what you asked. So
Yeah. No, I mean, to please, I know the story, but again, for people who this might be their first time hearing it, you've talked about the ups and downs of that relationship, the beauty of it, and the things that you learned about it, but also some of the, I don't know if regret's the right word, but just the reflection of mishaps that happened. So kind of, you know, summarize that time together, what was great about it, and kind of how it came to an end.
Yeah. So I want to give a shout out to her because, I mean, she was amazing. It was truly me that wasn't ready, but she was such a sweet girl, such a amazing person, bright personality, smart, beautiful, intelligent. You know, so when I met her, it was in that moment. So just kind of, you know, kind of just always kept tabs, just kind of checking in. Hey, how's it going? Still while I'm doing my own thing, but still like keep my eye on this girl. And I had this advisor, and I was just talking to her. Her name was Joy. And she was like in the student athlete office, and I used to always talk to her about like relationships and stuff that I was going through. You and her remind me of each other so much. Like she was my person before you, like at work, like at school, that I would just be like talking to and chatting with the whole time. And somehow she knew Dev as well. And I remember the next year when Dev, I guess she broke up with her dude or whatever. And so she was now on the market. And in my mind, I'm like, I need to jump on this now. Was I ready? Probably not. And was me being ready the true motivating factor in order for me to say like I'm ready to pursue her now? No, the true motivating factor was like I need to move now before anybody else moves. But still in my mind, my intention was I want something serious, but I wasn't ready. And I don't think I knew I wasn't ready.
Right.
My intention was good.
Yes.
But I felt like you like her. She's somebody that you've talked to, you really enjoy being around, you love the conversation, you think she's a great girl. And if you don't make your move now, somebody else is going to try to step in and take this moment or opportunity.
Yeah.
And I remember Joy was like, you shouldn't do it. She's not, I'm not going to tell you the conversations or whatever, but like, this is not the time to do it. Did I listen? No. I had to make my move.
Yeah.
So then I approached her and I told her just like how I felt about her, and I thought she was, you know, beautiful and this and that. And then we end up and got to the point to where we started talking. And then we got to a point to where we started dating. And like I said, the whole experience, this thing, because it wasn't even a long relationship, but I learned so much throughout that time. And the thing that I feel so bad about is that in that moment and in that relationship, I thought I knew everything. Oh, I thought I knew everything. Like she technically had more relationship experience than me, but I was telling her what things need to be done. And that's one thing I always talk about in our show is like, you have these theories off of what you've seen, but you don't have any experience. So I'm telling you what I seen my mom did. I'm telling you what I seen my stepdad do and how they operate, and tell you this is how it needs to be, or this is how you need to operate, or you need to know how to do this, or you need to know how to do that. Not knowing that a lot of those things didn't matter in relationships at all, or those things you can learn to do. But the things that truly matter are, you know, somebody's heart, how they treat you, their attentiveness towards you, understanding how to communicate in a relationship. I didn't know how to do that. Wasn't capable of doing that. And, you know, towards the end of the relationship, she was great, but I just felt like, you know, this just wasn't working. And I remember one party, which is like kind of like a turning point for me, was that, you know, I was, doing my thing in the party. It was a big place. I asked her, I was like, yo, can I take my shirt off? It's hot. Football player. We did that a lot. She said yes, but she was never like a dancer. She was like more chill, laid back.
Yeah.
And I remember in the party, like girls coming up to me like, yo, like I suck blah 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 right now. I'll do this, like do that. And I'm just looking like, nah, I got a girl, nah, I got a girl, nah, I got my girl, blah blah blah. And I remember leaving a party and there was this girl that I knew a while back. And we were like friends, and she seen me, and she didn't see me for a long time, so she ran up to me, like jumped up to me and like hugged me and like legs around me and everything. And I was like, whoa, like, like,
wow,
I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, hey, great to see, but it's good to see you though. And it's like, I can't do this now. I'm got a girl, but I thought my girlfriend had left. I didn't know where she was. She pulled up in a car like,
somebody dropped a dime on you.
So like, what's up? Like she saw the whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sitting there like, yo, you grilling me about this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I just turned down like the whole time?
You were trying to make her appreciate
in
something.
a party, like, and you mad because of this? Like, this is not even a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was insensitive to her feelings and her thing. And it's like, what you did in that party was you supposed to do. You don't get a medal for that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And imagine, I hate to interrupt you real quick, but you understand you were how old? 19?
19.
20 maybe at the most at this time? Thinking like that at that age and being that arrogant, like, girl, what? You need to be thankful that I didn't cheat on you. At 20, it's still stupid, but a lot more understandable.
Yeah.
Some of y'all still act like that at 45. Okay. And that's crazy. That's crazy. But go ahead.
But in that I learned, like, my mindset was I'm a great boyfriend because I don't cheat.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm a great boyfriend because I don't cheat. Mm-hmm. So like,
and you should be grateful.
And you should be grateful.
Right.
There's not a lot of men who are like that. And then I get you gifts. I do things nice. But you need to step it up. You don't cook. You're not like,
ouch.
You're not
nurturing.
Even some things which I will completely dispel because it's not true, but sexually I thought some things were missing. And it was just like I could find a flaw in everything.
Yeah.
Because I had her at such this high standard that she needed to uphold, whether that was judged off of my mom or just the vision of think about all throughout my life. I always thought this one person would be this amazing person, right? Yeah. To spend the rest of your life with.
Sure.
So therefore you have to be amazing. And if you want to be my life partner, I have to see amazing.
Yeah.
And amazing means checking off all the boxes and being amazing at everything.
Yeah.
And which I didn't know, at the age of 19, having it all figured out. And if you don't, you need to it's something wrong with you. So with that, after a while, and I remember one definitive point in our relationship, we sat down and had a dinner at PF Chang's, and we just didn't really talk at all throughout the whole dinner. And I was just like, yeah, this ain't working. Like, it's not a thing. We're not compatible. It's just, we can go our separate ways, no hard feelings. And I made up in my mind at that point, like I was ready to move on from the relationship. Yeah.
Oh man, that was such a good meaty story, really, because I wanted to explore it because there were so many missteps, and I think it's normal, right, to have those at that age. It's very, very normal to fumble through love because you're young and this is likely your first experience with it. So of course you're gonna make some mistakes, and I think for those of you again that are new here. I wish I could point out the exact episode number where you talked about kind of coming to that reckoning and walking back to a conversation with her to just reassure her that hey, listen, I didn't handle that right. And I just did not know any better. And it was beautiful. And I think it got me choked up because that validation, especially I can only speak as a woman, it means a lot when you're in a situation where you feel like you're doing everything you can to get it right, and you are listening to this feedback, and some of it is potentially valid, some not so much, because it's coming from a man who may not even fully know himself and he's just projecting. Most of us don't get the experience of a person reconciling that for us. Most of us don't get the man coming back and being like,
Yeah.
it was really me, it was not you.
Yeah.
But you did that. What pushed you to do that with her?
Well, I can tell everybody what actually happened and how I got to that point. So I'm not, just let you know, I feel like I'm in a great position now, but I did not handle that situation correctly with how I exited the relationship.
Yeah.
It was hard for me because I wasn't somebody who liked to deliver bad news or disappoint somebody, because I did care about her.
Yeah.
I just felt like, we just weren't compatible and it was time to move on, but I did care about her. So it was hard for me to actually tell her, what I was feeling.
Yeah.
So a few things happened. So I decided that I was going to do it. She was not expecting it at all. I was in my bed playing a game. She was sitting on my futon and my thing. And I basically told her, and she just started like break down crying. And I just kept playing my game and just like didn't do anything to comfort her, didn't like go over and give her a hug, didn't like say like, I'm so sorry, or anything like that. And I don't know if that was just me being uncomfortable with like somebody crying like that and not knowing what to do. So just trying to like kind of avoid it.
Yeah.
But for somebody who says they care about somebody, I didn't handle her in a careful way.
Yeah.
And then, I remember even after that, like she had left, but we kissed before she had left. And I think she was still kind of just like in a daze, like what just happened? Like, huh? And then there were some more moments to where we had some conversations, and I was thinking about like after we talked, like maybe we can make it work, and there's some things that we need to figure out. But it seemed like she was kind of still okay with where we were with things, and like just figuring it out and wondering what things might be. And she had told me some private things and opened up about some private things that of course I won't share, that probably made her even more like, dang, like, I really opened up to you about some things. But what made it worse, which she didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, is that at that point I was fed up. I was like, she don't cook, she don't clean, she don't do my laundry, she don't do nothing nurturing. And I remember my boy was like, yo, there's this girl, like she this, she that, like she do all this, like she's friends with my girl. And I was interested in her, and I was like, yo, like I'm not going to cheat on Dev, like, and messing with this girl while I'm messing with Dev. So I need to cut it off immediately.
Right.
Before I start messing with this girl. So I did it, like ripped the Band-Aid off real quick. And the issue that really made it tough and challenging was when I had that girl in my crib like the next weekend after I broke up with her, or the weekend after.
Ooh.
And the thing is that my boy Alex was dating this girl Bree, who's been with for a long time, and they have always, when you have girls and your guys and the girls get close. So the first weekend the girl came over, Bree wasn't there. The second time she was, and she's seeing it. She was like, I gotta tell her that he got this girl over here. Like, that's my girl now. Like, I gotta tell her.
Yeah.
So she ended up telling her. I didn't think there was nothing wrong with it, because I'm like, we broke up, like we're not compatible. But I remember walking
5
down
minutes ago.
I remember walking down the athletic hallway and seeing my girlfriend in there crying, or ex-girl in there crying to Joy, who's the advisor. And I'm like, I know they talking about me. I could see her arms and doing this. And I'm like, so I walked in there. I was like, yo, like everything good? Like, what's going on? And then it's like, basically like, it's like, yo, you say you care about me, but you had this girl in your house like 2 weeks, like after we broke up, like 2 weeks. And she's like crying and like angry and mad and like all these different things. And me, I'm just like, I mean, I just feel like we're not compatible. Like, it's good. Like, I wish you the best. Like, just so insensitive, right?
Yeah.
And it got to that point to where it's like, I was just cool with it. I was like, that's fine. Like, I didn't care what she did or what she was on. And she used to like try to check me on stuff. But I was like, I don't care. Yeah. Go home that summer. My parents liked her, right? She had came to my games. I met her parents, met her family.
Yeah.
And I remember my stepdad asked me, just, like, what happened? And I'm telling them all these things, like she don't do this, she don't do that, and like she don't act
In
like this, and she
college.
need to do this, and
Right.
she don't know how to cook. And he asked, everything I'm saying, he's rebutting me. Why does that matter? Who cares? What does that have to do with X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, well, my mom, he was like, your mom don't do that, or your mom don't know how to do that, or your mom we had to talk about this, or your mom. And in that conversation, it hit me like a punch in the stomach after it, like, yo, I was completely wrong.
Yeah.
About all of this. Like, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. And then guilt hit me like a ton of bricks. And at that moment, it was just too late in the game, because I went to her and was trying to get in contact with her just to apologize and say like, yo, I didn't mean it.
Yeah.
Or even try to get back with her because of the guilt that I felt. And she wouldn't take my calls. And I remember one time she responded to me, she was like, how could I even trust or believe anything you have to say after everything that happened?
Yeah.
And that ate me up even more, because it's like, in those moments when you know you did something wrong, you want some type of atonement. You want to feel like you are
like, please
forgiven,
accept.
you know, for what
Yeah.
you did. And if the person's like, nah, I'm good, like you're just a shitty person, basically. It's like, dang, like, and I felt so bad. And there was times I used to try to talk to her even in person when we got back to school after break. She wasn't dealing, like wasn't
Yeah. I mean, she
willing to
was
hear
really
it.
hurt.
And then I got my moment like months, maybe it might have been almost a year later, to where she was sitting in Joy's office one time waiting for her. And Joy and I had talked about it multiple times, and I told her how I felt. And basically it was just her and I in there. And I was just like, I just want to apologize to you. Like, and I think at this point she wasn't as angry. She kind of had dealt with it. And I'm just like, everything that I said and everything I did was wrong. I held you up to a standard that was so unrealistic and not okay. And like, I'm so sorry, because I maybe have had you believing things that weren't even true about yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't want to contribute to that trauma that you could possibly have. And I just poured my heart out and just told her, like, I'm sorry. Like, I was completely wrong. It was nothing that you did.
Yeah.
And I truly apologize for putting you through that. And she accepted my apology in that.
Yeah.
And I was so appreciative of her for just hearing me and understanding that there was growth within me. And in that moment, it wasn't even like, I want to get back together, I want to try this out. It was just like,
That's it.
I'm sorry.
That's
like,
it.
and through that time, we had even met up, had dinner before. I seen her maybe like a year ago, but when my grandmother passed, she texted me and said like, hey, you know, I heard about your grandmother. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And my grandmother has a lasting impression just on people anyway.
sure,
So you
for
meet
sure.
her at one point, she just has that type of thing.
Very fun lady.
Yeah. But that relationship shaped so much for me. Like without that relationship, without her, I don't know if I would have been prepared to really have the relationship with Bree that I had, because the biggest lesson I learned is that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
And open up your mind to the possibility of new ways of doing things or giving people grace if they don't have it all together. And without her and that relationship, it may have been 5 months total, but I appreciate her so much.
Big learning lesson. Lots of big learning lessons in such a short period of time. You've gotten some really cool lessons from women in your life. You talked about Joy. You talked about your mother, obviously. You talked about Dev. So moving out of college, right? You get into the workforce, and you know, you moving and shaking. I guess the first short question is, with what happened with Dev, did it have any, I guess, influence on your decision to, and let me pause here to define snacking. Right. Okay. So I met Dre through work. Again, if this is not your first time here, you've heard that before. And I met Dre as a very, very, very single man who was very interested in being single for the most part.
Like very, very, very single man.
Yeah, like not just the I don't have a girl, but I'm open to having a girl. Like some parts, there were moments like that. There were moments where you were like, oh, it's somebody that I really like, and I think I really want to try to date her. But for the most part, it was like, nah, I'm having a really good time. Like I'm living my life. I am truly not trying to lock it down with anybody. In fact, they'll all be faces, not like no names, no need. She's Tuesday. Next one will be Thursday. But snacking was this like funny thing that Dre used to say at work. And it was like, what is the whole snacking thing? Like, he's like, I'm just snacking, I'm just snacking, I'm just snacking. And I want you to really define it. But ultimately, if you compare snacks to meals, you could probably gather the context here.
Listen, I used to tell Rhonda, and shout out to Abby, the homie,
And
who
Bree.
actually is getting married, and Bree.
Yeah.
I told them, listen, I'm ready for a relationship, but I ain't found that person yet. So while I'm waiting, you know, I'm just gonna have a little fun. So that's the equivalent. It's like I'm ready for dinner. I'm ready for my meal. But I don't see nothing I really like on the menu quite yet. So while I'm waiting for, you know, dinner to come, I'm gonna snack.
Yeah. You were getting very full off of snacks.
I was. Nope. And that's the thing that happens when you snack. You snack too much.
You snack a little too much. Now you don't have room.
You don't got the appetite for dinner.
You don't have room for the entree. But I guess the short question was, did that breakup at all, and how it was all handled, and maybe the fallout and the recovery of it, did that at all have an influence on the snacking? Like this, you know what, I'm going to just really chill out, but like have fun and not lock back in until I really know, like I'm really ready?
Yeah, I think that after the initial breakup, like I went crazy because it was all these offers already on the table. So I was like, shoot, like let me start fulfilling the orders. Ticket, who up next? So I started doing that.
Snack Shack.
For sure. But then once I got into more of my adult life, I think it was more my just discovery of the power of my appearance, I guess. And it almost felt like a game, like what can I do, or how, you know, what type of woman can I get, and just like more of like a challenging myself to like explore and see, you know, who can I, you know, court and get to the point to where, you know, you kind of seal the deal. At this time, I'm 21, 22 years old. So it was just more just out being fun, snacking. But like I said, I thought I was ready for a real thing if that person came along. But, you know, I was out here having fun. And like Rhonda said, it got to a point to where it was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like different chick maybe every week.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes in the same week.
And sometimes in the same
different
week.
Person in the same week. Listen, some of the funny, and I will not spill it all because Dre's a very married man today, unlike the very single man I speak of. But one of the funniest things, I think one time when you called and you were like, listen, I'm gonna be late. But outside of me being late, I'm gonna have on what I had on yesterday. Like, and I just don't want you to be weirded out by that. Like, I have not been home. And I don't have time to go home because I'm already late for work. So everybody just act normal. So that was
my birthday. I remember exactly who that was, where I was slayed that night. Yep.
All right. Moving right along. So, you know, I remember this very distinct moment. And for those who don't know, again, there is a Dre and Bree is his wife, have shared so much of their love story.
Yes.
Like you can absolutely go and find like all of the very detailed videos all the way up to their marriage and all of the things. But I remember this very pivotal moment where that snacking started to become very overwhelming.
Yes.
And I think this was also a time in our friendship where it was truly transitioning into a friendship where we're like having not just office chatter, but like
I'm meeting your friends and like you meet my people. And it's like,
yes. And like while working together, when we have free time, it's like, yo, like I got this stuff on my mind. Like this stuff is on my heart. And I remember you just being like, I'm gonna chill out. Like I'm gonna stop. Like I just really think I'm ready to be a husband. I really want a wife. And I just was like, you? Like, not that you a bad guy, but what? Like, number one, how are you going to get rid of all these other people? And like your particular decision was like rooted in, I'm not going to have sex. And I was like, you're not going to be able to do that. Like literally all we talk about is that. Like, how are you really going to shut it down? And I know that you approached it with this idea of not being inebriated and not being intoxicated by that so that you could have a clear mind. But was it a bad situation that made you be like, this is too much snacking? Did all of the people, did it start to, because sometimes when you juggling a lot of people, the expectations become heavy or the cattiness arises and you just like, I can't handle this.
It was never that because I dealt with people in a way that was truly communicative of what the situation was. I always said, like, I only had 2 girlfriends in my life because if I wanted you to be my girl, I would let you know I want you to be my girl.
Yeah.
If not, then I would truly communicate like what I ultimately wanted. Sometimes it worked out. Sometimes just girls who thought they could change me, but you could never say that I didn't tell you this is how I felt. So I never dealt with cattiness. For me, it was, I always had this fear. It's kind of like an adrenaline rush when it comes to doing something. I don't know, walking on the side of a cliff, or it's fun and it's exciting and exhilarating, but there's always a risk that's there.
Yeah.
And it makes you fearful of like, what if I do misstep this time and fall off the cliff? So that was one of the biggest things for me that was always scary, is that I was scared of STDs and I was scared of getting somebody pregnant that I didn't want to have a child with.
Yeah.
And every time you lay down with somebody, you're risking both of those. So it got to a point to where I just, like, I always had that fear, but then it got to a point to where the fear really truly started to outweigh like the pleasure. And I was just like, yeah, like this girl, I like her, she cool, she'll do anything, but I do not want to get her pregnant.
Yeah.
I don't. I would be pissed and very, very, and she likes me so much that if I did, she probably keeping it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, nah, man, like you out here playing with fire and you're dodging it so much. You're dodging it. But all it takes is once to, you can get that for life, and you don't want none of them that stick with you forever. And it's like that truly would disrupt the whole trajectory of what you want your life to be.
Yeah.
Like if you had that for life, I'm not the type of person that wouldn't tell you, or like you got to tell somebody that. And then it's like, now it's like all those opportunities, you could meet somebody you love and then you tell them you got that. And then it's like, well, yeah, no, I'm good.
Doesn't work for me.
Yeah. So it's like, and when you look back at your life, you'll be like, dang, like I blew up all of this or what I thought my life could be for what?
Yeah.
And then that, along with being like, all right, I don't want to be intoxicated by the physical, everything, every time I did things the way God said to do it, it turned out better for me in my life. All those things combined got me to that point. And I know for a lot of people, it seemed like a hard stop, like, yo, like, dang, like you just stopped and that was it.
Yeah.
But it was an ongoing thing where I was trying to like, stop, but it took a little time. But once I was ready, I was like,
you was locked in.
I was locked in.
Ain't no switching up. So you meet Bree and you embark on a beautiful relationship that certainly has had its challenges with navigating the territory of a new life, new place, because Bree moved from a different state and was kind of reinventing herself through entrepreneurship. And you too were reinventing yourself through entrepreneurship. What was something that really made you know, like, this is different and like this is a person that I really want to set my intention on? Because you talked about always wanting marriage, right? You talked about always wanting a commitment, but not necessarily acting in that way at certain points. But something had to happen or maybe spark in her where it's like, she's the one. What was that?
So I had 3 moments or 2 moments of confirmation truly, and just things that I knew. So I used to always hear my parents talk about how they knew that each other was the one, right? And one of the things that my mom always said is that when her friend, my Aunt Carla, asked her, like, what does he look like? She was like, I don't really know. Like, I mean, he's tall, he's this and he's that, but it just wasn't like truly like a thing. Like, I mean, he was attractive to me, but wasn't really a focus. And I remember when I first met Bree, it was through mutual friends in DC. She was still living in Cleveland, and they the girl was trying to put me on to Bree, and I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm talking to somebody else. I'm straight." And I was like, "It's cool. I'll meet her. I'll talk to her, but I'm not interested."
Yeah.
But and not that she wasn't attractive. I was just talking to somebody at the time. But then when I met her, she just had a light. Like, and anybody who's met Bree, she's just like truly like a bubbly, just like a personality that just fills up a room. And I had never seen or met anybody who operated like she did or moved like she did. And it was just like very intriguing to me the first weekend I met her. But then, that went and passed, and she went back to Cleveland. I did my own thing. So then come March, this was the first sign of confirmation. That January of that year, going into New Year's, I was like, I'm not having sex anymore. At that time, I cut everybody off. I wasn't talking to anybody, didn't have no person in sight, and didn't think, how it always is. You don't think anybody you met is actually going to be the person. You think, it's going to be somebody new. So I go to my school, JMU, and I go for a career fair, and there's this girl there I had sex with often throughout undergrad, and she was there for her graduate. And anytime I used to go back, we used to have sex. So right on time, around 1:00 in the morning, she hits me up. "Hey, what you up to?" And I'm staying at my friend's Lindsay house, sitting on the couch, and I'm just like, I'm chilling. And she was like, "So like, what you want to do? Like, come over." And I was like, "Nah, like I'm not having sex." And she was like, "What, you doing that for Lent or something like that?" And I'm like,
"Call me next week."
Nah. I was like, "Nah, I'm really not doing this." And she made some convincing arguments, but I didn't do it. And I really just sat on the couch. I remember just looking like, yo, you're really doing this. Like, you really had the opportunity right there, and you just said no. And that was great. Like, we used to do it all the time. It was, great experience, sexual experience. But you was just like, no. The next day, this girl that I didn't talk to for 7 months, met one weekend through a mutual friend, hit me up and was like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. This is Bree from Cleveland, but I'm moving to DC. And, I just wanted to know, like, would you be open to having dinner? Because I just want to, know some people in the area and blah, 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 blah." And Bree hit me up the next day. And from there, that's when our relationship took off, and we started talking and didn't turn back since then. And that was the first sign of confirmation. Like, after I truly stood up to the test, this woman comes into my life the next day. And then I knew, which was the biggest thing, is that I didn't want to have sex until marriage. Didn't know how she would feel about it. So I did the worst thing you can ever do to a woman, or to a woman. And I said, "Hey, I have something to tell you, but I'm not going to tell you until we're in person."
Till you get here.
And she was living in Cleveland at the time. And she's like, "Lord Jesus, this man got a kid. This man got this. This man got like, what is it?
Like, what could it be?
Like, just tell me." And I'm like, "No." So we go have this conversation in the old place that we work. Ovation has a special place in our heart, because that's like where our relationship kind of started. And we had a lot of those dreamy moments, but we had a conversation about just expectations for relationships, what we wanted out of life. And before I told her I wanted to wait for marriage, she said that she wanted to wait to have sex until she truly knows that she's with the person that she wants to be with, and until engagement for sure. And I was just like, that's so crazy. I was so nervous to tell you this, and you're actually on the same type time. And that was like another thing of confirmation for me that, like, oh, might be my person. And that held me down, because there were some hard moments in that stuff in our relationship. Like, I wasn't perfect, but Bree definitely had a lot more things to learn and maturing to do when it came to a relationship standpoint. And it took those moments of confirmation to know, like, no, this is the person you're supposed to be with. Just be patient, give her grace. And she was never a person that was always like, "Nah, I'm not changing." She's just like, I have things that I'm working on. And I'm always trying to improve, and she will apologize when she would do things wrong or make me upset. So I just was like, this is somebody who's truly invested in this relationship and wants this to work. So that's kind of how I knew, like, this is somebody that I could be with for the long haul.
So good. So good. I remember you being super nervous going into having that conversation with her. Like, "You think she gonna be cool with it?" And I was like, I'm encouraging, like, "Yeah, I think it'll be fine. You just don't know." But in my head, I was like,
it's so funny because
I don't know about this.
I have a lot of friends who are women, and they are all just my biggest supporters. And Bree loves all of them too. By the way, I had a lot of them at the wedding and stuff too. But I remember having Abby on speakerphone, and this is when I first like met Bree, and I was telling y'all I was going to have a conversation, and Abby's on speakerphone. She was like, "So did you tell her? Like, what happened?" And like, and Bree's just like laughing, and that's how you know how innocent like the relationship is between like me and my friends who are women.
Yeah.
But they're like just like kind of figuring like what happened.
What happened? Please,
so tell me, like, update me. Like,
yes. I was like blown away. Like, no way. I couldn't have guessed that ending. Like that you told her, and she was also on some like, well, yeah, me too. You know, I'm not doing it either. So let's go. You know, so that was like incredible. So I'm gonna jump ahead a bit.
Yes.
And again, the story about how it really all came together and the things that they worked through up until marriage. Totally available on the network. Like literally you can get the videos on this page.
For sure.
So moving ahead, you know, you talked a lot about some of the challenges with Bree understanding relationship dynamics and things like that. But what would you say are some of the challenges you brought into the relationship, and how did Bree hold you accountable for things that you needed to work through or work on?
I would say the inability to be flexible was one of my things. I think with Dev, I learned a lot about knowing that you don't know it all. But with Bree, I think that how to handle her, I had to learn the grace, but also understanding that the truth isn't the most important thing. Just because you say the truth and you're right, doesn't mean anything if you don't communicate it in the way that it needs to be communicated. I think that I still was in a mindset of caring about things that didn't truly matter. I learned from my experience with Dev, but that was a 19-year-old relationship. I wasn't grown. Now I'm dealing with, you know, you're living with me, we have bills. What does that look like in a dynamic of a relationship? I had to learn that and learn, you know, how to deal with, you know, Bree in that situation. So I would say definitely my flexibility and the way that I communicated was not always the best for where she was. It was good for me and how I grew up communicating with my mom, and the openness and the transparency. Like that's how I was used to communicating. But I didn't realize that, you know, if somebody's not in that same place, you have to adjust the way you communicate with them and how you communicate criticism and how you communicate, you know, even happiness or love. Like I didn't know that I had to switch up. I was just being me. I feel like I'm a good guy. And I'm doing a lot of great things in this relationship. You need to adjust to me, but I needed to learn to be more flexible and be more and be willing to adjust to her.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you talked about recently how therapy has been so helpful. You all started in couples therapy, prepping for marriage and all of that. And likely, I'm pretty sure you did it after marriage as well. But even when we had Cody Elaine on, and she talked about like individual therapy and how helpful that was to her marriage. And now Bree being in individual therapy, how helpful it has been to your marriage. Have you thought about going to therapy? Have you thought about how it could be helpful? Or do you feel like, I don't know if it's necessary for me right now?
I have thought about it, but I don't want this to sound like bad or anything, but I don't feel like it's necessary for me at this moment. Because I'm such like it's introspective, the word, like person.
You're looking inside.
You're looking inside. Like I am a constant evaluator of myself. Do a lot of self-talk, do a lot of self-reflection. And I also have mentorship that does serve as therapy at times. Like my parents are the people that I can truly sit down and have a conversation with, and they can be that mirror looking back at me, showing me and telling me the things that I'm doing wrong. Like my parents did our premarital counseling, and Bree was nervous about it at first, but they was harder on me, way harder than they were on Bree. Like I was the one that was being held accountable. I was the one after the session at their house, still hours, 2 hours arguing with my stepdad about this, but you don't understand. She doing this and she doing that. Okay, you the leader in this house though. Like these responsibilities falls on you. It's not supposed to be easy, son. It's not.
Yeah.
That's what leadership is. And it's like, these are the things, this is the type of talk that I'm getting from my parents. So
Yeah.
if you combine like how they raised me in the sense of working through my own things in my mind and trying to figure things out and trying to find the best solutions to the issues that I'm having, but also having that type of mentorship and guidance and the ability to tell me truth and love, I feel like those things have really helped to, guide me and help me to transform as a person. And I think that I'm blessed that I don't have as much to unpack from childhood as a lot of other people do. I have the maybe normal things of like kids make fun of me and stuff like that, like, happens, but I didn't have like a whole bunch of things that I was exposed to before I needed to be exposed to it that I'm trying to unpack. A lot of things are just things that are part of my personality, things that I saw or maybe experienced, but have been kind of easy for me to work through. And Bree will tell you, it's like, she's like, I don't understand like how you do it. Like even the discipline to wait for marriage and be like, that's my decision, and how I was able to cut off just like that. It's like, I don't know, my mind, how it works to have the ability to work through things and come to a decision and be like, this is what I'm gonna do, and then do it. Bree, even like, she's like, oh, you should leave your stuff everywhere, and then one day, like a month or two ago, like everything's clean all the time. It's folded in the drawers, and she's like, I don't get it. Like, how did you get to that point? And I was like, I just had to work through it in my head. It was a lot of walks, a lot of talk, like a lot of reading, a lot of videos, a lot of things. And then I was able to formulate it in my mind, and I was able to apply it in something that made sense to me.
Yeah.
And then it's like, boom, it's there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there'll be things that, I would need to talk through or figure out, but I haven't reached a moment yet to where I feel like it was dire enough for me to be like, I need to hire somebody to help me work through this.
Gotcha. I think about doing this show with you, and this is really just a physical form of our real relationship, our real friendship. And the word simp, comes up. Not that you are one, but I think there's this concept that men who are committed to love and committed to doing right by their women, or women in general, that are kind of on the straight and narrow to some degree, that for some reason that is just looked at as like a bad thing, or you're a clown. They're naysayers that'll say like, it's no way, he lying, like, nah, he doing something, ain't no way, ain't nobody, he just doing that for the podcast, he just saying that just to pander to women. I've heard it. I know for a fact that you've heard it plenty times over. What do you say to that? What do you say to it? One, to the naysayers, and then two, to encourage young men, not just men in general, but specifically young men who are constantly being told, you do have to be a bad boy. Like, you do have to do all the things, and you got to run through women and be disrespectful to them. So first, speak to the naysayers and like whatever, but also, how do you encourage men to step up and not be afraid of doing the right thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think that to the naysayers, I don't care.
Yeah.
I think and we had talked about this, I look at how many people have unhealthy relationships. And it's like, of course, some people are going to oppose the healthy. Yeah. It's a whole bunch of unhealthy people out here. So it's going to be people who see something and be like, nah, it's not possible. And then I realized too, is that it's so many different things. A lot of times when people don't think that they can do something or it's possible for them, then they don't think anybody can do it. So it's like, I could never not have sex. And for 3 years, no, I could never do that. So there's no way you're doing it.
Right.
No way. And even when Brie and I were waiting for marriage, we got a lot of backlash from the Christian community because we lived together and weren't having sex, and it was just like this whole backlash of like, y'all shacking up, and that's not what the Lord wants, and this verse says this and that verse says that, and I'm just like, I'm using my own discernment, and I know what I'm doing, and I know why I'm doing it, and if you don't agree, then you don't agree, but like,
it's my life.
In a year we're gonna be married, and it's not gonna even be a conversation you can even have because we're getting married. So it's like, I don't care about the naysayers. I think that, we live in a society where there just are people who are going to be contrarian and want to oppose things. Like you could look at the nicest video, most innocent thing on social media, and there's going to be people who's going to find something negative about it,
Yep.
find something to say about it.
For sure.
It's just the reality of our lives.
Yeah.
So I can't, I'm not upset about that. I just want to be a light, a positivity in a lot of this darkness. So
Yeah.
say what you want. And the second thing you said about the men who feel like, what did you say, that think
that like locking in and getting married and being committed to one woman is just like either something they can't accomplish or they've been told, because so much around us tells us that
you gotta
don't marry until you're 50 and you do all these things.
And you talking about like having to be like rough with women or kind of be like this in order to attract. I think that one thing I learned through my life is women are attracted to confidence. Like confidence is key.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, there are women who are in toxic situations and grew up in a way to where they think abuse is love, or they think jealousy or envy is love, or reflective of love. And those are the people that you probably want to stay away from. And you don't want that to be a standard that you feel like you have to live up to because you're attracted to, to her, or you like how she looks. I like how she looks, but she wants me to be more jealous or envious of guys when they come up and talk to her. Stay away from that.
Yeah.
You don't want that. What I think you need to exude is confidence. Women like confidence. I don't think any women like corny, right? Nobody, even if they date a corny man, which people would think, however they describe it, nobody would say like, oh yeah, my man's like really corny. Like they don't think that. Like they don't want to, nobody wants to date somebody who they feel like is that way. And I think that corny has nothing to do with how upstanding of a guy you are. I think it comes from more of a lack of confidence in yourself. That's what seems like truly corny. It's like, if you're going to be different with confidence. Like, don't
say
be different. Yeah, don't be different and be like
sheepish.
Yeah, sheepish about it or not truly confident in yourself. Like I see men who dress crazy, do a lot of different things, but it's confidence. And when you wear the confidence, it don't seem corny. You just seem eclectic, or you seem different, or you seem like you're a trendsetter if you're confident with it.
That's right.
But if you're not confident with it and you're not confident in yourself or who you are, then it kind of comes off as corny. But I wouldn't equate like how they try to say with Russ, like a man who's just taking care of their family, an upstanding guy. That's not corny. That's like fly.
That's a good man.
Yeah, that's a good man.
Yes. Like you said, and it's fly.
Yeah, it's fly. Like, and that is the man that is honestly the strongest and the one that you should try to emulate, because that takes more effort to show up like that every single day.
Yes.
Yeah, it's something to be admired. I wouldn't, for those men out there, I wouldn't care to even mess with a woman who wants you to be toxic to her in order for her to feel wanted or loved.
I love that.
And it's tough because I've met women who you are extremely attracted to. You like them. You like their vibe. You like the conversation. And you think that they're beautiful. You're sexually attracted to them. But it's like they want that. And it's like you have to learn how to put that to the side, especially if you're looking for somebody to be a life partner. And just be like, nah, like I'm good. And the thing is that when you do that, that will honestly get you to a point to where you might have more of a chance if you just walk away and be like, nah, I'm good, versus trying to, fall into that and being inauthentic to who you truly are.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so fly. We need to put that on a t-shirt. Being that type of man is fly.
It's fly.
Yeah, it's totally fly. So my last question.
Yes.
Thinking about your real life love scenario from childhood all the way up to now, what is the most beautiful thing that you can say is essentially at the top of where you are today as a husband and a man who is committed to a healthy, happy partnership? Culminating all of your experiences, what can you say is like the thing that brings you the most joy about your real life love scenario?
I think it's truly the culmination of it all, which is having a wife and having Bree. Like that is, I look at I'm so proud of not only myself, but of my wife, of my parents, of my village, of my tribe to get me to where I'm at this point, because this is the best place that Bree and I have ever been. Like, and I look at her all the time and I'm like, yo, I got a wife and I love my wife. Like, I love my wife. Like, this is great. Like, I love this experience. And it took some time to get there. Like, it was not always that dreamy eyed, like, oh my gosh, like I'm so happy feeling in our relationship. There was times where I loved her, but the that we had talked about so much, like truly liking the person that you're with and just truly being head over heels, it took me some time to get there, and it took her some time to get there, and it took us time to grow and figure out things and learn each other and accept things, for some of our hearts to unharden from things that have happened to us in the past. The growth that it took truly, I think, contributes to the happiness. That, you know, it's the difference between hitting the lottery versus earning, you know, the money that you have, is that it's a certain level of appreciation that you have with it. And that's why I love relationships and something like marriage, is because that equity that you built is what truly generates that love and appreciation. It's like, yo, we done been through some things and we done overcame some things, and like, you really you my person. Like, I can trust you with anything. Like, you got my back. Like, we had a call today. My wife is getting dressed and she truly don't have to do nothing to be a part of this. But it's like, nah, what, you ain't got, I got you.
Like you said, gang.
Like, it don't matter. Like, I'm not about to have you out here. You my man.
That's right.
And that feeling that's the feeling that I have now, was the feeling I was chasing when I was younger. And that's why it's the culmination for me, because I'm like, yo, I really have a person that's like, this is it. Like, this is the thing that they talking about. This is the feeling of having somebody who is truly there for you. You want to spend every day of your life with, you love, you care for. And not only that, is they equally have that same feeling for you. And you know more than anybody, because I talk to you a lot, everything hasn't been perfect, but it's just all learning experiences and lessons. A lot of times don't take or hit unless they hurt. Right.
That's
like
true. So true.
Unless it truly makes a mark, how it doesn't impact you in the way that it should. So it's like, some things have to hurt a little bit and have to strike you deep in order for you to be like. I think the saying
is like, if a lesson isn't learned in blood, it has to be learned again. Something like that.
That's real. Like, that's the only way. And those experiences, and when we started to go through those experiences, I started to be like, man, this sucks, but I know it's necessary.
That's it.
It sucks, but I know it's necessary. And to where we are now, I'm just like, man, this is just great. Like, this is just true bliss of like being in a relationship. I'm truly happy every day when I see her. I'm looking at her, just laying next to her. Like, I want to touch her. I want to, like, it's great.
I love that. Listen, well, I ain't going to hold you. I ain't going to keep you away from it any longer. You did so wonderful.
Oh,
I didn't do bad, right?
No,
I didn't put you on the spot too much. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope not only did you find gems, but for the men who listen faithfully to the show, that you found encouragement in the story, because I think sometimes from the internet, things can look a certain way, things can appear perfect, but the truth is, anything worth having requires hard work. For sure.
And I hope that, and we plan to have our parents on this show at some point, but I hope for the parents out there too who are listening, just to see what an impact those early years and how you handle your child impact how they become as adults.
100%. Well, listen, thanks for tuning in. If you want to write in, relationshiprestore.com, click the contact button. Tell us your scenario so we don't have to keep talking about ours. No, just kidding. And we'll see you next week. But social. Ronnie Cakes.
At SJ Smith.
And at Relationship Restored. Leave a review. Follow us on everything. And don't forget to share.
Peace.
See you next week.